During quarantine, I saw them on Netflix, both of them, and I realized I'd never really watched The Last Airbender. I'd watched the movie once, and then I'd watched a lot of episodes here and there, odd ones, but I'd never watched it cohesively enough the whole way through to really appreciate it on the level that most people desperately, really seem to. And then I also watched The Legend of Korra and decided it didn't really deserve a separate video, so today we're ranking every season of both. Here we go! I figured we'd just go worst to best with these seasons, and The Legend of Korra Season 2 happened. It exists, yeah. And I mean, you've got to give credit where it's due. They were taking a one-season show. It was only meant to go for one season, and they were trying to extend it out into something more. And a lot of the initial concept ideas they had for what they would explore next were good. Yeah, going further into the spirit world and the Avatar's connection between the two. A Northern Water tribe asshole, because they're all assholes, finally being the villain. Felt inevitable from Avatar Season 1. The story of the first Avatar. Yeah. I knew there was one more good thing I could say before we start talking about what's not so good. Yeah, all of that's great stuff. And that was a 2-part episode, so that's a whole big portion of the season that was good. Very good. Apart from that, they glossed over the whole Northern Water Tribe takes over the Southern Water Tribe thing way too quickly and just wanted to focus on Unalak, the worst villain ever, by the way, being the anti-Avatar or some shit like that. Yeah, hated it. Oh god, the final battle is a travesty. Korra and Mako. Woo! We've got to give credit about Aubrey Plaza's introduction to Eska. Insane, wonderful. Her and Bolin's whole thing, hilarious. Love it. Everything else, I mean, they took the action away from Republic City, which is kind of the centerpiece, the beating heart of the show. It always gets drawn back there, and they shouldn't have tried so hard to do that. Spirit World stuff there was good stuff, there was bad stuff. Uncle Iroh turned up. Brilliant. But a lot of the other stuff going on here, and the fact that, I don't know, the end as well. There's so much about this that isn't actually that bad, but there are some pretty drastically annoying things about it as well. And I'm giving a Legend, but not Korra's, 72 out of 100. Legend of Korra Season 4, the final season of anything we've ever seen from this universe, was a disappointment. To be fair, we will talk later about Avatar Season 3 and how comparatively Korra could never have lived up to it, okay? Especially with the standalone style of the seasons that Korra had. You know, it was never going to have all this build from previous seasons leading up to this moment. No, it did have to deal simultaneously with the fallout from Season 3, which was significant, and setting up for a huge Season 4 ending, which kind of had this underdeveloped villain that came out of nowhere and was just already a big thing by the time the season began, because time jump. Oh, I don't love time jumps. So, I mean, that dumped you down. Suddenly you had this super depressed Korra. Oh my god. Angst machine. And that was annoying. Though, to be fair, it led to Korra alone. It led to Toph Beifong. Toph Beifong isn't just the best character in the Avatar universe. Maybe any universe. And as a whole old kind of crazy funny hermit teacher, she was better than Yoda. I said it! So, that episode, her story with her daughters, the way that she went and connected to nature, like, seeing, like, all the other characters, I don't know, it seemed like they had, like, fulfilling lives and things, but, like, it seemed so old and, like, they weren't really doing much nowadays. Toph was still, like, she was still learning and all of this stuff, and it was so cool to see. Kuvira is a big step up as a villain from Unalak, because duh. Though she is frustratingly underdeveloped in some ways. You feel like if they'd been able to have her as more of a character in the third season, showing how she led up to this point and became the villain, I would have preferred that. The kind of split of the characters across different places, and then how they come back together, and the finale does feel big. It did, yeah. In a really good way, and I appreciated it. They weren't quite bold enough to get Korra and Asami together, just like to hint at it. Would have preferred to see that at least confirmed, if not developed further, but it's fine. It's fine. It rounded off the show well. There are things I felt it could have done better, in spite of having the fallout from Season 3 to deal with and all of that. and it didn't. But for what it did, for what it wanted to try and do and finish off on high as, despite having basically been cancelled before Season 4, it was better. Yeah. So I'm giving Not Quite Bold Enough to Be She-Ra 76 out of 100. The Legend of Korra Season 1. As much as the other seasons all bleed into each other a little bit, despite having that standalone feel to them, this just wraps itself up in such a neat bow and feels like a standalone thing, because it is, and was meant to be, as it was meant to be a miniseries. And then that's part of what didn't help Season 2, is they didn't really have much to lead on from, because they wrapped it all up in such a neat bow here. But that makes the season stronger. Korra is the Avatar. She's mastered 3 of the 4 elements. She's brash, overconfident, and generally irritating as a lead. And now she's coming to Republic City. And she's training with Aang's son Tenzin and his family. And we see Aang in her mind and stuff. Woo! And we see Katara and she's old. Ah! So much fun stuff if you love Avatar, right? And she's in this pro bending team now. What? It's a badass sport. That's pretty cool. That worked well. And I do think all of the characters, there were almost no characters that I loved immediately. You know, you don't love Tenzin immediately. You definitely don't love Korra immediately. Even Bolin or Maka, I didn't really love any of them immediately. Asami was always the beautiful queen that she turned out to be. There was no question about that. But apart from that, generally, the characters grew on you over the course of the season, and I was okay with having Amon and his equalist movement, which was kind of badass, and also, it was just this kind of scary boogeyman villain, instead of a really well-developed one, but that was fine for a season where you were supposed to be more focused on the heroes and learning about them. Tarlok was not necessary, or great, or anything, but that's fine, doesn't matter. Because it was worked well, you know, and I feel like from the Pro-Bending Finals episode onwards, it's all badass, great television. Really heats up as the season goes on, in a great way, like Avatar used to. So I didn't have any problem with this. I did feel like there were parts about it, you know, the whole style, the tone shift, it was quite a culture shock for me, because it does change a lot. Never mind the fact that technology advanced that far in less than a century, just the fact that there's a great deal of argument, I feel, over this between, is animation better when it is more cartoonish and focuses on the comedy, but then is able to have serious emotional moments? Or is it better like this, when it takes itself more seriously in terms of the animation style and the characters and all of the humor as well, to a degree? And I think this way is better, but that's fine. I'm giving The Republic City That Never Sleeps 78 out of 100. Avatar Season 1, something I never watched cohesively until this year, is something I was really scared about. I was really worried. As much as I just talked about it, I was really worried I wouldn't like it because of how cartoonish it was. It made me scared because so many of those early, the first half of this season of episodes, were throwaway episodes, pretty much. This whole thing was, let's get to the North Pole, and Battle of the North Pole is an epic 2-part episode. Incredible. Awesome. But leading up to that, there was just kind of a lot of episodes where they were like, oh, yes, this incredibly dire mission we're on to get to the North Pole. Gotta go as fast as humanly possible. Let's take a break. Let's go on holiday. Let's take this side journey. Let's go get food for an episode. And it scared me because I was worried it wouldn't have the kind of character development and epic overarching story that I really dreamed it could from the premise in my head. And obviously it does, but a lot of this season doesn't really feel like it's going to. And I think if I watched it back again, with the security, knowing where it does end up going, I would be able to enjoy some of these throwaway episodes more. I wouldn't be so stressed about it, you know, about where it's going, about when's it getting there, about is this going to be good enough. But it is still so great. Apart from the epic 2-part finale, so good. It's also got some individual great episodes in there, like the Blue Spirit, that first hint of hope for Zuko. And by the way, that is also a kind of, it felt like an 80s cartoon in some ways, because it was just like, oh, we're doing this now. Oh no, Zuko has found us again. How will we fight him without anyone really getting damaged this time? Haha. There were a lot of those that just kind of, you know, wash, rinse, repeat. And it's best that there were that many of those for later seasons, But I feel like even the best throwaway episodes are in later seasons, really, you know? And the show's formula just improved so much as it went on. So, that's why the score takes a slight dip here for me, and why I'm giving not the James Cameron bullshit 81 out of 100. Back to Korra. And as much as some people say the Legend of Korra Season 3 is the best season any of these shows ever had, no, really, they say that. I've already talked about why I prefer the animation, the character style, the overarching story, as opposed to the seasonal changes that Korra has, when it comes to Avatar. So it's not surprising to me that I preferred that. And I never really thought that as an individual season I was going to prefer any of the Korra seasons to much of Avatar. But I did prefer this season 1 of Avatar. And part of that is down to, like, how. I was so shocked at how well this did everything. Coming out of season 2, really pulling gold out of, not a shit heap, that's mean, but a relative shit heap compared to the other seasons. It's just so good. Everything from Zahir as a character, as a villain, oh my god, unquestionably the best that Korra has, to actually being able to fight the Avatar with a bender of each kind. Oh, I loved that. And I know it wasn't possible before the introduction of the new Airbenders, really. But that was also a really cool thing and a really big result of Season 2, which it felt like it did change things. And maybe it'll make me appreciate Season 2 more if I watch it back. I don't want to. I don't want to give it that chance. Anyway, there's so much else that Korra did this season that was so good, okay? There was no romantic bullshit. There was so much improvement to so many other characters, including, like, Lin, like Jinora taking on more responsibility. It was such a strong first act to the season, having them go out and search for the Airbenders. I really loved that, much more than the beginning of any of the other seasons of Korra. Maybe any of the other seasons of any of these shows. It was just so effortless. It just felt like the story built so well from there. As soon as you introduced Zahir, you just knew that this was going to be awesome. The finale is so great, and it has such lasting effects. It feels it, as much as you don't like seeing those effects so much. It's a weak start to Season 4 because of that. It doesn't matter. And I think the only thing better than that for me is the Terror Within, because that came out of nowhere. When they tried to kidnap Korra, and she was unconscious, and they were trapped, the four of them, and they were trying to get away, and her friends were all battling them. That was such a cool fight. That was so good. That was such a good episode. That came out of nowhere. I never saw it coming. It was so unpredictable, because I assumed they would get away with her. And I loved it so much. That just blew me away, that whole sequence. I thought that was phenomenal. It really felt like nothing the show ever did. So I'm giving Legendary Korra 82 out of 100. Avatar Season 2 brought the Empire Strikes Back feels to the series, and that was shocking. As much as there were high stakes in Season 1 and there were consequences, I didn't expect this show to be bold enough to have the big swinging balls required to end a season on actual utter complete devastation. And I mean, Zuko not changing at the moment you thought he would, that pulled the rug and then the floorboards out from under you, you know? The whole season was just, it leveled up the show. Almost everything, 95% of what this season tried to do, it nailed, okay? And not just that big finale, but also the throwaway episodes. The Tales of Ba Sing Se, Zuko Alone, The Chase, oh my god, The Blind Bandit. Don't get me wrong, this show did so many great things. But I think even more than ending a season like that devastating way, introducing Toph Bae Fong was not just a genius move, it was a really bold one, because they could have seriously fucked up Team Avatar and the whole show if she wasn't a great character. But goddammit, she was. So good, so perfect, and so much about what followed. Like, this whole season, it feels different. It feels more serious. It feels like it's getting somewhere the whole time, as opposed to a large portion of Season 1, which felt like they were just kind of aimlessly eventually getting to the North Pole. This felt like they were always moving forwards, and Aang was always training more, and I loved every second of it, except for Appa getting kidnapped. That didn't really work out too well for me. It made angsty, it slowed the pace of the season drastically, and it was sad. I felt like every inch of this season except for that leveled the show up. But knowing, you know, with what came after, as well as that slight slowing of the season at that point, It ensured this season isn't quite the best for me, but I'm giving The Fire Nation Strikes Back 86 out of 100. Avatar Season 3 is the greatest season of animated television ever. That was just for the people in the comments who were waiting to go bash this show until the end. But they probably did it like 5 reviews ago. It doesn't matter. It is top tier television. Oh my god. And it should have been so difficult from the beginning of this season. Bringing Aang back, because that's what Korra messed up at, or didn't do as strongly, I felt, was bringing her back from the brink of death and defeat for the final season. And yet, right away, they jumped in with The Beach. One of the funniest throwaway episodes ever. The fucking blood-bending lady. Oh my god. And Sokka's Swordmaster episode. Oh, these are such good episodes that really felt like they led the characters to a satisfying concluding point before the end of this last season. It was doing it from early in the season. And Zuko finally turning. The Avatar and the Fire Lord episode. That's just genius television. And it's just so good because you have the fake finale in the middle of the season. You know, that big, oh, it's all led to this. Aha, here, now our attack. And it doesn't work out. But that means that the whole, we're leading up to this thing, doesn't have to take the whole season. And then they have to recover from that. And that's so good. And then Zuko finally, when he turns and he takes basically the leading role for like 4 or 5 episodes and goes on adventures with everybody, that is all so good. Except for Toph. He didn't go on an adventure with Toph. That's the... I'm kind of dying for that combo, but it doesn't matter. This whole show, in a time, especially now, looking back at it, when 50% of shows end with controversial or outright terrible endings, a show like this that was able to build everything up to this moment, live up to exactly what it was destined to be, and more, soaring higher than you could have believed, proving definitively it's not a show for kids, and having... It was so filled with fan service at the end. And yet it was still... it fucking rocked. It's so incredible to see and look back on. And it's always going to... Just knowing that it comes to that point, you're always just going to have a huge smile on your face the entire way throughout rewatching any of this show, because it's so incredible. I'm giving Aang and Zuko should have gotten together 93 out of 100. There's the whole ranking over there. Yep. I almost wanted to put like every season of Korra beneath every season of Avatar. But I don't think it was fair. Korra Season 3 deserved that recognition because it is that good. It really was. I was shocked. Also, yeah, can you imagine if Aang and Zuko just gotten together? You know? Or if we got, like, Korra and Asami actually together for a season. If they'd actually been together for a season, that could have been the best season. Holy shit.